This week's episode is brought to you in part by MPix, delivering the highest quality prints and products from your photos. Shoot today, upload tonight, we ship tomorrow.
On this week's episode, I've got a cool border trick using Refine Edge.
And I'm going to show you how to make a dynamic hairbrush.
I've got a Lightroom tip for you on creating presets.
And I have a smart object technique to make live shadows, and it all starts right now.
Welcome to Photoshop User TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And now, here are your hosts, the Photoshop guys.
Well, hi everybody, welcome to another wordless episode of Photoshop User TV. Yes, I said wordless because we do not have a word of the day. I was not told the word before we started, so I
thought you might just make one on the fly. I was kind of intrigued.
Wordless, that was my word on the fly, so I don't really think it's a word. Anyway, welcome back to Photoshop User TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the fine people that bring you Photoshop User Magazine. Hey, the holiday
show the
issue
cover,
is
but I mean, look at how lovely it is inside, too. Not just the cover.
Well, the holiday issue is out, too, so it's got the
gift guide.
gadget gear guide inside of it and all kinds of holiday-related things.
That's a nice alliteration.
Thank you. Tried.
I'm trying to throw out words that you could use for the...
I didn't know what that word meant. Anyway. Well, hey everybody, welcome back. So we've got almost the full crowd here. Scott's traveling back from one of his seminars. RC is actually, so we're kind of, it's probably no secret that we don't record these on the day that the show comes out. So we're actually recording, I know, don't tell anybody. So we're actually recording ahead of time, but RC went up north for the holidays. But we're here.
We are.
Dave's here.
Yes,
Hi, Dave.
Hey.
In a Canada shirt, of course.
Just for a change.
Pete's here in a green shirt, of course. You still got that tablet, huh?
Classic.
Or you still got
Yes.
the Cintiq?
Yes.
It's hanging on for dear life.
Maybe one more week.
Dude, you got to give it up.
Nope. Nope.
It's either that or
I'm
your
having
firstborn.
it legally adopted.
And those of you that know Pete know he's probably not kidding. How's it going over there, laddie?
Fine.
You're kind of
He's
subdued
excited.
today.
Yes.
And he's repeating everything twice, apparently.
Oh, wow.
So what you guys don't get to see is at the beginning of the show when we say what we're going to do. You know, we say, and this week I've got whatever. So it comes over to Corey and he's like, and I've got a border. I've got a tip for getting around the border for you. Everybody just starts. The border was a border patrol.
Yeah. It was
guards,
much
the
funnier
security-
before you tried to retell it.
Yeah,
It really was.
You had to, it's one of those you had to be there.
Corey, do it again.
And I've got a border trick. No, all right.
For how to use 3D objects to get
We all
past
had a
those
laugh with
pesky
it.
guards.
It's just that laugh is not coming across very well. So I'm going to stop this.
Moving on.
And go to something that's
Too bad that wasn't wordless.
Go to even something that's less funny. It says Pete's tutorial. So Pete,
Oh, it's going to be humorous. I'm going to show you today how to create a white square.
Done.
There we go. And now back to you guys. No, a lot of times when you're creating your own brushes, you need to remember that whether you're doing a pattern or a brush, the maximum size that you can make is 2,500 pixels by 2,500 pixels. And so what I like to do is I have a preset that I already put up there that is a brush preset. So I go ahead and kick in a square that's those dimensions. So I can make things as big as that or I can make it smaller, but I'm never going to make a brush that's just unwieldy. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how to make a hairbrush, not for like fixing your hair, but say you're having to fix a photograph and you need to put in some hairs. Say you've wiped out some stray hairs and it just looks a little too crisp the way you've cut it out. Being able to draw in a few stray hairs coming back in, or if you're drawing something like our friend Patrick loves to draw wonderful animals. Patrick Lamontagne draws wonderful animals. And he creates these wonderful hairbrushes for his animals. Well, you can do this for any of your drawings or whatever, but this is going to be a dynamic hairbrush. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create 3 different points from which that brush is going to take to draw the hairs. Because if you just draw one, then you're always having to draw that exact same hair over and over again. If you put in multiple parts, then they can interact the way you set your brush dynamics to give it a little more hairy effect. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a semi-circular selection. It doesn't have to be exactly a circle. And I'm going to fill it with black. And I actually like to give it some sort of little funkiness to it because it's going to give you a little bit different look as it gets drawn. I'm going to do another one, and I'm going to fill that with black on a different layer. I'm filling it by simply holding my Option and my Delete key to fill in my foreground color. I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to bring it down here. The reason why I'm doing that is I want to space the hairs out. These are going to draw 3 different hairs with every stroke. And I'm going to place them a little bit farther apart so that when it starts to use the brush dynamics, it's going to flow in different ways and create a depth to it that you couldn't get just from a single brush stroke. And so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this middle layer and I'm going to drop the opacity a little because I want to give it a little depth by having some of the hairs be a little darker than the others. And now that I've got all 3 of those, I am simply going to shrink them down because I don't need hair follicles 800 pixels wide. You know, I'm going to bring it down and make it fairly small, and then I'm simply going to use my marquee tool to select around it, and I'm going to define a brush preset. And you go, great, that's fantastic, riveting. Well, the key is going to be to then go to your brushes, choose that brush preset, and then come over here and change things up. First thing you want to do is change your spacing so that there are no gaps in between the brush strokes. Then you're going to go over to Shape Dynamics, and you're going to want to turn, you're just going to leave that right there. Don't you like how professional that was? Just leave that right there because I didn't know what I was talking about. Now I'm going to add a little flow jitter to the pen pressure. If you don't have a Cintiq 24 HD by Wacom, or one of the pressure-sensitive tablets, then you can set some different settings here so that it will act similar. It'll try to simulate it. Simulate? Yes.
Speaking of those that don't have a Wacom Cintiq.
Yes, like I do.
You'll be amongst that crowd in a week.
Wacom. What a great product. But what you can do is you can simulate some of that. But what that now does by setting those few simple parameters, as I draw, let me make this a little smaller because that's still huge. But as I draw, it's going to start to draw all 3 of those. I need to leave this up because the key is going to be, I'm just going to change. If you watch on my screen, as I move the direction of the flow of those strands, they start to interplay with each other. And so I'll draw a couple, and then I'll spin it around a little bit. And each time I spin it, it'll give me just a little bit different look to it. And so the key is you make 3 or more simple shapes similar to circles, and then you play with your brush dynamics to get some wonderful different looks to it so you can get a lot of different brush texture to it, hair texture to it. So anyway, it's a little convoluted, but for those of you that are trying to figure out how to draw hairbrushes or create hairbrushes, think about spacing them out a little more. I've seen a lot where they're really compact and together, but if you space it out more, you'll get some more unique definition to your hairbrushes.
Kind of cool. I don't frankly see what all the fuss is about hair, painting hair anyway.
I thought of all people here, you would like that tip.
It's dynamic.
Now, if you had like a razor tip shaving, that would be a whole nother kettle of fish.
You're biased.
So Matt.
Yes.
I see over there on that little thing it says LR tip. Do you have an LR tip?
I do have an LR tip. I'm thinking LR means Lightroom. So a very, very quick, simple tip for you is people love presets in Lightroom. And so basically a preset would be if I come over here and I'll change the white balance to something crazy. I'll kind of make overexpose a little bit. I'll pull the vibrance down, which will pull a lot of the color out of the skin. And then maybe I come down here to effects. And instead of darkening the edges, maybe I'll brighten the edges a little bit here. All right. And so let's go ahead, hit the backslash key, which is another tip, but not part of this tip. Hit the backslash key to see before, and hit backslash again to see after. Okay, so that's something that maybe I want to apply to different photos. You know, if I shoot weddings, I could use this multiple times. So I could come over here, I could create a preset for it. The tip is, when you start to create presets, they're going to show up in your user presets panel. As you start to scroll through here, it gets pretty crazy. Because most people that get into presets love presets. So one of the things you can do is when you click this little plus icon and you give your preset a name, if you want, you can name it. They're all stored alphabetically. What I always tell people is put like your top 10 favorites, name them 1 through 10. So 1, space, and then give it a descriptive name, and that way it always appears at the top of the list, and then 2 comes right after that, because you can't reorder them. You can't just come over here and drag. It almost looks like you can.
It's just
right?
clean.
You see the way it fools you?
Fake you out.
Look at that. See, it's going to drop it right in between there. Nope.
Now, can you create subfolders if you wanted to?
So the other thing you could do, and you could see here, I have black and white presets, effects, and travel presets. You could click on the little plus icon and then just choose new folder, and you could put all your black and whites into a folder too. So there's not a lot of organization you can do, but just those little tips usually help everybody out.
See, because I have 18 different presets that all have different versions of aardvark spelling. See,
all right. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I have if you're into Lightroom presets, I have a class up on kelbytraining.com right now. It's called Lightroom Creative Presets, where I walk you through all these different kinds of presets, how to create them, and kind of the thought process. Anyway,
very good.
I think we're supposed to take a break, so we will take a very quick break, and we'll see you right back here in just a minute.
Very quick.
Why is lighting so hard to learn? I think it's because we're photographers. We learn by looking at other photographers' images. But yet, every book I've seen on lighting uses diagrams, usually just a line drawing of where the subject stands and where the light goes. But what if it was more than just one photo? How about one showing the front view and the left side and the right side and the view from behind your subject? And instead of just a line drawing from above, what about an actual photo taken directly overhead the entire setup? I've never seen this done before. But once you see these views, it changes everything. But today, to get the look, it's more than just lighting. It's what you do after the shoot in Photoshop. It's the retouching. It's the special effects. It's all the post-processing that makes these photos look like they do. Every book shows you the final image, but nobody wants you to show you everything that happens from the moment the image leaves your camera to the moment you present the final image to the client. Well, I wanted to create a book like that, one that would take you all the way through the shoot, including the lighting, the equipment, all the settings, and the camera settings for a bunch of today's most popular looks, and then show you exactly how to finish those images in Photoshop without leaving anything out. I've never seen a book on lighting anything like it. It's visual, just like we are. You finally get to see everything, and once you see everything, it all just makes sense. I hope you'll check out Light It, Shoot It, Retouch It, my brand new book that I hope is really going to change the way people learn lighting.
We are back once again today, here
at this moment in time.
At this moment now. And we are here to introduce, did we mention book author? Corey Barker?
No. No, in fact.
Dude, isn't that cool? You put author into your bio now.
I know.
Sweet. All right, so you got a little tip for us there?
I do, actually, and it's from the book. Right there. It's actually, because I wanted to keep, kind of in the spirit of the Down and Dirty series, is there's a lot of short tutorials with a lot of, longer ones, so you can kind of pick and choose. This is one of the short ones, and it's a really cool trick using Refine Edge in a way that it perhaps wasn't necessarily designed for, but still is something pretty interesting. Here I have an image of a texture, just a simple texture that I found on iStock, and I'm just going to take the rectangular marquee tool and just draw a selection just kind of inside the area of the texture a little bit. That's it. All I'm going to do is draw that selection. Then, click on the Refine Edge button up here in the options bar. And go to the edge detection section. I'm going to push the radius up a lot just so I can start to see that it's defining that, that edge. It's starting to detect that edge a little bit. And I'm going to go down here to the adjust edge section and just boost the contrast up, almost to 100%. You can see it really tightens up that contrast, giving me a nice textured kind of border effect. Now, ordinarily, if you're going for a really accurate selection, this would be just a big fat mess. But that's not what we're after here. We want more of a grungy kind of border effect. So all I'm going to do is just leave the settings at that, have it out to put to a selection, and there it is. So I'll just create a new layer and fill it with black. And there you can see, there's my shape with my really cool textured border. So all I'm going to do now is just take another image and just drag it over. And I'm just going to use a clipping group to clip it inside that shape. Just hold down the Option key on Mac, Alt on Windows, and just put your cursor between the layers. And when you see the overlapping circles, just click once, And now that image is masked inside of that border. Let me just put a little white background layer here. And there I can have nice, cool, grungy border. Man, and the cool thing about this is you can try it on any image that's got a lot of things happening, and you're bound to get a different kind of border configuration each time. It's a really cool trick.
Great, I think it's always funny because when you see all the different things like refine edge, that's what we use to select hair with. But people come up, how do I select hair? There's no hair selection dialogue or anything in Photoshop, but it's kind of cool to see all the different things and the way people push things that I don't think they were ever really meant to be pushed in that direction. So kind of neat stuff.
Are you saying Corey's a pusher?
Corey's a pusher.
Pixel pusher. I think somebody's already got that name. Never mind.
All right, Dave. Empty. That's what I see on your screen.
You do. I have an empty room with the word empty. And some of you may know, but some of you may not, but I kind of tend to like these things called smart objects. And I always preface it by saying because,
really, Dave?
Well, yeah, because I'm lazy, because I don't want to have to redo work over again. So anytime I can try and do something, one of these smart things, of smart objects that lets you redo things and reuse and edit and so on. So I had this idea of trying to create kind of a cast shadow. And in the past, what I would have done would be to use the drop shadow command to create the drop shadow, and then use this little shortcut, which would say, create layer, which is a really weird name for put the layer style on its own layer, and then do like a free transform and all that kind of stuff, and you get like, except, make sure you click on the correct layer, of course, but you get the idea. Anyway, I don't do it that way anymore because if I change the type, the shadow is no longer tied. So this is what a method that I would consider using is convert this to a smart object, but I'm going to throw an extra little twist in here by doing puppet warp. But I'm not actually going to do anything yet. I'm just going to hit enter. So I've got puppet warp kind of tied to this smart object. I just haven't done it yet. So that's kind of in case I want to change my mind. Then I take this and convert that to a smart object. So now I have a type smart object with puppet warp applied turned into another smart object. So, and all that setup is so I can do this.
My brain hurts.
Duplicate the whole smart object, just regular old Command or Control J, and I want this to look like a shadow. So I'm going to add a color overlay, which I happen to have mine set to black. And then I can do free transform. Now this is weird. You see I only have the little type there, but because it's a smart object thing, now it thinks, oh, I'm going to have to go and do this giant transformation handles for you. So holding down Command or Control, I can click and still stretch and make this nice kind of cast shadow, and then just move it so the letters kind of match up, and then do some kind of blur to make this nice and blurry to get the kind of cast shadow
which is on a smart filter, by the way, which means you could always change it.
And edit that too. So now at this point, I go to all this step, and then I decide I either want to change the type or do something else, or implement that puppet warp. So I double click, which gets me back to the original that has the puppet warp. What I would probably do at this point is tile the windows, so that way on this side I can see, oh, that was nice, just had a mind of its own, and the original smart object with the puppet warp, and on this side the effect. So for example, if I were to now go into the, here where I have the puppet warp, double click on that to edit it, and just as a quick example, let's just do something like this, where I pull this up and do something crazy, and as soon as I hit enter, watch the one on the left, you'll see that not only does it, I have to save it, sorry, got ahead of myself there. You notice here, not only did the T, but the shadow changes because it's tied to the same camera raw kind of smart object. So all kinds of possibilities here, because now you can go and, change the type if you want. You can edit the smart object. So let's just go back here a little bit. And actually, let's just take off the puppet warp and just say I wanted to just simply edit the text because I spelt it wrong, because of course we all know it's actually empty. So if I close and save this, and then save this one, then once again it will eventually update over here. Sorry, I gotta save this one now. It's a lot of saving going on. And then it updates. Okay, no, it didn't. I don't know why it didn't do that. It should, but anyway. So the smart object idea, sometimes you dig down a couple of levels and it just opens up more possibilities. And frankly, sometimes it seems like more work up front, but then now when you say this as a PSD, even though it's not called this, I always refer to it almost like a template, because now you can edit all these pieces very easily just by kind of digging down inside the smart object. So.
Well, and I think smart objects for puppet warp also makes perfect sense because Puppet Warp, you can do some neat things with Puppet Warp, but you can also get your, you'll often come back to the image and want to change the Puppet Warp. And when you make it a smart object, you can change the Puppet Warp, which I think is pretty big for that example there. All right. Hey folks, we're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll have our contest and wrap up and all that fun stuff. See you back here in just a minute.
My name is Douglas Saunders. I'm a commercial advertising photographer. I may be Washington, D.C. based, but I take my assignments all over the world. We have a product, it's an iPad case, and I'll be showing you how to put together an entire ad shoot from pre-production to actual photo shoot to my post-production retouching process. You're going to learn about coming up with a creative concept, dealing with your clients, lighting on location, actually handling a photo shoot day with the multiple members of your crew and client on set, the retouching process. What do retouchers look for when you're delivering all the content they need to composite an image together in the end? You're going to see everything. Everything's going to be thrown up in the air, and we're going to put it all together piece by piece. If you're at all familiar with the type of work I do, come over to kelbytrain.com, check out my video, and see how I put an entire shoot together.
Well, welcome back. I hope you found that break nice and as refreshing as we did.
We did.
Because it lasted so long.
Our breaks don't last as long.
I know, it's like...
They cut, and then they bring us right back in, so...
No, don't give away all the secrets.
Sorry, all the secrets.
We took a break, we had a nice drink of water.
We actually went to lunch during that break.
But we are back, yes.
I was going to mention really quick, so if you're a NAP member, or if you're anybody actually, but it'll live eventually on the NAP member website. We're doing this thing, the NAPP is doing something called Retouching Week. So it's kind of a play on, like, have you ever watched Discovery Channel and you see Shark Week and you always see the graphics come up, So it's kind of a play on Shark Week where in Retouch Week, we're going to do just every day, we're going to have, basically a half-hour show on retouching, all the different areas around retouching, lots of different ideas behind retouching and tutorials. If you go to PhotoshopUser.com, you'll be able to find out more information. It's going to be free to everybody to be able to go in and watch the first time. And then once the videos are done, once that week is over, then everything will live on the NAP site.
Cool. So, should be fun. Sounds like fun.
It'll be cool.
And also, just as another mention, don't forget, it's not too soon to start thinking about Photoshop World in Washington, D.C. coming up the end of March. It's going to be a great place. Our first time in D.C. It's going to be a cool spot, so make sure you join us there.
Sounds good.
Now we're going to do our traditional ending the show.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in
thing.
real quick. Don't forget about Help Portrait coming up as well.
Yes, that's coming up this coming weekend.
Yes.
From when the show is on.
Cool.
Okay, so now.
Contest.
A couple of prizes. Corey's brand new Down Dirty Tricks book. And what's the other one? Oh.
Site Grinder from Media Lab.
Way to take your Photoshop documents and turn them into fully functioning websites. So in order to win this amazing package of two things...
Corey, will you sign this too?
Yes.
Okay. Go to kelbytv.com where you find the Photoshop User TV place. You can add a comment, make some suggestions for the kind of tutorials you'd like to see, start a petition as to why Pete should keep his Cintiq, whatever you want, something on there. And we will draw randomly some lucky winner for these things right here.
Sounds good. Fabulous. Well, guys, Corey, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. See you next time.
No, we appreciate it.
No. I appreciate you.
The appreciation is
You're
mutual.
supposed to say it twice. Yes,
appreciate you and you.
Pete?
Yes.
In the green shirt. What was your shirt say today, Pete? I didn't see it.
You don't recognize?
Dude, can I tell you?
Yes, you can. I won't listen, though.
Pete says, how many licks does it take? It's the Tootsie Roll, Tootsie Pop commercial. I got a Tootsie Pop. I got a little 5-pack of Tootsie Pops the other week. It didn't have any Tootsie Roll in the middle.
Oh, that's like...
Dude.
I would write.
I would complain.
I was thinking of suing.
Occupy. Who makes
wrong.
Tootsie Roll?
It's, do you know the scarring that... All right, hey guys, thanks again for watching. We appreciate you guys watching. We also appreciate all the sponsors of the show. We will see you again next week here on Photoshop TV. Take care.